Hello, Joseph here. I am a musician, I'm a composer, and I like talking about music right here on this channel for your eyeballs to consume. So today, I'd like to talk about Maurice Ravel. What a surprise! But specifically, his time during World War I, which is characterised by most biographers as the worst period of his life. I've covered Ravel before on this channel, and if you want to watch my whole video on his, life and influence, then please go and do that. It's in the and also while you're here, please subscribe. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers like so badly. Coming out of the scandal of the Prix de Rome, a drama which had thrusted his name into the limelight, Ravel would begin a small thread of teaching. He wasn't a natural teacher, and nor was he particularly drawn to it, but he gave a few lessons to various musicians throughout this period. One of his students was the young Vaughan Williams, a future icon of British classical music. Another was Rosenthal, who would proceed to achieve very little and then posthumously out Ravel as gay. That didn't actually happen, I just thought it'd be funny to say. George Gershwin also asked Ravel to be his teacher at this time, but he refused, believing that Gershwin was far too spontaneous for Ravel to be able to give good guidance. Ravel was afraid that he would rob Gershwin of his innate instinct for melody and spirit, and rejected Gershwin's request. Ravel in this period would produce some very famous pieces, including many ballets such as Daphnis et Chloé and Ma Mère Loie, and the comedy L'Heure Espagnole, which drew inspiration from his Basque heritage. L'Heure Espagnole was devoted to the Madame Jean Croupi, whose son would go on to die in the Great War that was to come. Ravel, unlike many of his other contemporaries, was already an established composer by the time he went to war. He had already created a large portion of his best-known compositions, and this, coupled with the fact that Ravel was 39 at the time, almost past the age of enlistment, made those closest to him advise him not to go. Quite rightly, to be honest, World War I was a fucking mess, but nonetheless, he was hell-bent on enlisting. Now, Ravel was a very small man. He was only 5'3", and he was actually quite thin, which meant that a lot of military divisions straight up rejected him. He was attracted to the idea of being a pilot, a very exciting prospect for him, and a role where being lightweight is actually a benefit, but quite naturally it takes a long time to train well enough to fly a warplane. So, while Ravel followed his interest, he took up a medical position treating wounded soldiers near his hometown of Cibourg. While pursuing his desire to fly, and perhaps inspired by his brother Edouard, who was doing the same job, Ravel enlisted as a lorry driver for the front. Lorry driving didn't require the same degree of fitness that fighting on the front lines or flying a plane demanded, but nonetheless, the position definitely did provide the naive excitement that Ravel was searching for. Driving lorries at the front was a very dangerous job, although I mean it's war, so pretty much everything is dangerous. Lorry drivers were expected to travel night and day across horrendous roads, carrying twice as much load as the vehicle is designed to take, all while enemy gunfire, bombs and artillery showered down around them. The lorries were completely exposed to the elements, through wind, rain, sleet, and loads of mud, which meant that Ravel got to wear this fabulous coat for protection.
Yes, work at anti-slaver house down boots for your nerves.
Letters to friends would detail countless near misses and vehicle breakdowns, which, in another timeline, could have cost him his life. Maybe if he had died during World War I, we wouldn't have been subjected to fucking Bolero. He would never actually become a pilot. It was revealed that he had a heart defect, which, coupled with his relative maturity, would pretty much reduce his chances of enlistment to zero. Ravel would always feel that his talents were more useful elsewhere. The war would begin to take its toll on Ravel. His body suffered from extreme exhaustion, dysentery, insomnia, frostbite, and digestive problems, while his mind was constantly troubled by his mother's failing health. Ravel's mother was everything to him, and his dread that she might die weighed on him heavily. During this time, more conservative composers like Saint-Saëns and Dubois set up a committee to ban all German music in France. When they asked Ravel to join, he refused, claiming that it would be dangerous to ignore the work of his contemporaries, no matter where they came from, and that it would cause France's music to fall into degeneracy and banal formulas. This caused all of Ravel's music to be utterly blacklisted from any performance hosted by the committee during the wartime. Ravel's mother died in 1917, confirming all of Ravel's fears and throwing him into a horrible despair, the aftermath of which would stay with him for the rest of his life. It was at this time that Ravel would compose Le Tombeau de Couperin, a piano suite in 6 movements, each devoted to a different friend or loved one that had died in the war. The final movement, Toccata, was devoted to musicologist Joseph de Maillard, the husband of Ravel's close friend Marguerite Long. Despite being devoted to his fallen friends, the music is never very somber, and when asked why, Ravel said that the dead are sad enough in their eternal silence. Very cheery. After the war, Ravel found that he had significantly less life in him than he did before. His stamina was drained, and his already small compositional output only further diminished. Despite this, Ravel actually wrote some of his best-known works during this time, including La Valse, and his other pre-war pieces like Daphnis et Chloé and L'Air Espagnol were revived to be played once again. After Debussy's death, Ravel ascended to be France's greatest living composer and was offered the Legion of Honor in 1920. His old teacher, Feuret, wrote glowingly to Ravel, expressing his unending pride for his former student and now friend. Ravel would never escape the cloud that World War I casted on his mind, but neither would all of Europe, and he would go on to lead a rich life until his death in 1937. World War I was a monstrous war for everyone involved. Millions died, many more millions were forced to migrate from their homes, and I think you can sense this grief in Ravel's later music. After the war, he began to take a more pared-down approach to composition, reducing his output mostly to chamber ensembles and solo pieces. Ravel, much like many other composers after World War I, lost his desire for big, sweeping textures and grand orchestration, made cynical and pessimistic by his experience in the war. World War I changed music for everyone, for all time, and the ripples it had on the development of the art can still be seen to this day. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in me doing more composer biographies, whether grand and sweeping over their entire lives or just kind of focusing on a small element of their lives, please do let me know in the comments. Please do let me know. I do take feedback and suggestions. I do listen. Please like the video and subscribe, and please consider donating to my Patreon. $10 a month will get your name at the end of every single video I make. Love you. Bye.